Hey guys, it's Pinkstar and welcome back to another video. Today is my January wrap up. I'm so happy with how I did with my TBR for January. I actually went slightly off track a little bit and read a couple of books that weren't on my TBR, and I didn't quite finish the last book on my TBR. So yeah, we'll go into all of this and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so the first book I read for January was The Witcher The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, I think you say it. I probably got that wrong. But this is the first book in the Witcher series and I was super excited to read this. I've played all the Witcher games and I loved them, and I watched the TV show. So yeah, was super excited to read this one. The games obviously are set after the series, so it's slightly, obviously that's like not going to be able to be comparable to the book, but the show is set following like the books. Obviously they change it a little bit in the show to follow more of like Ciri's story, but this was really good just seeing Geralt and Yennefer, and I really enjoyed the short stories. I really liked how each of the short stories is kind of tied together as Geralt's kind of telling the story, and it's like kind of talking about things that he has done. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one, and I'm really looking forward to the next one, which is on my TBR for next month. So yay, I can't wait to read Sword of Destiny and continue the Witcher series. And I gave it 4 stars. Alright, so the second book I read for January was These Hollow Boughs by Lexi Ryan. I absolutely love Lexi Ryan's writing style and enjoyed her Boys of Jackson Harbour series. I read all of those last year, so I was super excited when I found out she was making a fantasy novel that's like based on Fae, because I absolutely love that. It's right up my alley. So I bought this one at the end of December. I bought this book and yeah, went on my TBR pretty much straight away because I had to read it, and it was so good. These are all my tabs that I made. There are quite a few. This was my first time tabbing a book as well. I don't write in my books because I just can't do it. I just can't. I don't know why. People annotate their books and highlight and write in them, but I can't do it, unfortunately. It's just not me. But I love the idea of tabbing all my favourite parts, and that way I can like look back on things and everything means something different. I've got like characters and world building and romance and twists and things. So yes, this book was amazing. I gave it 4.5 stars. And yeah, absolutely loved it. At the beginning it was a little bit slow and I felt like it took too much from like fairy tales, very Cinderella-esque at the beginning, but it changed and then it became like its own story, which was so amazing. So fantastical. There was so many lies and twists and betrayals, and I have no idea who to trust in this book at all. Like absolutely no one. Can't trust anybody. They all lie to you. It's so well done. So at the beginning I had it ranked a little bit lower, and by the end of this book I had to push it up to a 4.5 star because yeah, that ending had me, and I can't wait for the next book. It's going to be amazing. So yes, highly recommend this. I won't say too much about this book because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't actually read it, but I love Finn and I really hope that he ends up being the main like love interest in the end, because yeah, don't like the other guy. We'll just stick with Finn. Finn is the best. So yes, definitely read this one if you haven't already, and I absolutely loved it. So far my TBR was going really well for January. So 2 really high rated books. Alright, so the third book that I read in January was City of Thorns by C.N. Crawford. I had this one on my Kindle for a while, so I was really looking forward to reading it finally, and it did not disappoint. I really enjoyed it. I give this a 4-star rating, and yeah, it was just really good. I really liked the main character. I like how she kind of ended up having almost a split personality while she was trying to pretend to be this succubus. I haven't really read a lot of stories that are about demons and things, which made it really interesting. I really like the main guy. I thought he was really cool and interesting, and yeah, I just really thoroughly enjoyed it. And as soon as I got to the end, I really wanted to read the next one really bad, which brings me into the fourth book, which was Lord of Embers, because as soon as I finished City of Thorns, I had to read the next one, and luckily it came out 2 days prior, so perfect timing. So I read this one and absolutely loved it. I just loved how the main character kind of like completely changed. They grew with their learning about their powers and their past and their family. Yeah, it was just really well done. The only negative that I really have for these books is that I kind of wanted a little bit more romance and sex, because I mean, they're succubuses, and I just feel like, you know, they are the demons of sexuality and sex, and just want a little bit more. So hopefully we'll get that in the third one, which I'm happy comes out in June, so I don't have to wait too long. But I give them both a 4-star rating. Absolutely love them, so yeah. Alright, so the fifth book I read was actually one that also wasn't on my TBR. I was reading this while I was reading the sixth book, because the sixth book I had a physical copy for, and while I was at work I wanted to read something on my Kindle so I didn't have to bring my physical book to work with me. I didn't want to get damaged in my bag. So yes, I read this one, which was Mirrenwood, The Tale of a Unicorn. This was an ARC copy that I got from NetGalley, which is another reason why I wanted to read it, because it was on my NetGalley to reads list, and I needed to read that because I was getting behind with my ARC reviews. So I read this one and it was a struggle, unfortunately. This is, yeah, I was really hoping it was going to be really good, but unfortunately it just wasn't. I give it a 2-star rating just because of the ending. It kind of boosted it up a little bit, but I was like this close to DNFing it because it was just boring. Like the first half of the book, I felt like nothing really happened. It just felt like it dragged on. I don't feel like the sort of setting was for me. So other people might really enjoy it, but it's set kind of like Merlin-esque time, like, you know, like King Arthur, that sort of time frame sort of thing. So where there's kings and obviously like knights and dragons and things like that. But in this one there was a king, he's dying, and his physician, who I couldn't say his name for the longest time, and it drove me bonkers. Every time I read his name, I had to reread it multiple times, which is another thing that also put me off. So I think his name is said Ximenes, or Ximenes, I don't know, but it drove me bonkers. So I just called him Ximenes. He gets Zim for short, but he's the main guy, and then so he's trying to save the king, but he needs the unicorn horn to make the medication to save him, and the unicorn's like a myth. The king saw one apparently when he was a kid in the Mirrenwood, but he closed the Mirrenwood so that nobody could hunt the unicorn. My washing machine's beeping. So then eventually he gets talked into opening the Mirrenwood so that they can go and hunt the unicorn, so they can get the horn to save the king. And I'm like, I don't want them to hunt the unicorn, I don't want them to kill the unicorn because I love unicorns. So I wasn't 100% keen on that. Also, didn't really like the whole love interest story, because the physician is like an older guy who is in love with the king's wife, but then he kind of likes the daughter of the king. I don't know, it just felt really creepy. So unfortunately I didn't like this. The ending was quite interesting, which, as I said, is why I boosted it up to a 2 from a 1. But yeah, unfortunately I wouldn't recommend this one. Alright, moving on to the 6th book that I read. So I'm doing pretty well this month. My goal was 4 to 6 books in January, and I'm already up to the 6th book. And this one is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this was my 5-star read. It's amazing. I highly, 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 highly recommend reading this. It's not my usual go-to style. It's not a fantasy book. It's not even like hugely romance. It's very like a historical fiction sort of thing set in like the old Hollywood times. It's just really well done, really well written, and you find out that, you know, Evelyn Hugo's story is not actually all about her husbands anyway. Yeah, it's just so beautiful, heartbreaking. It was amazing just seeing like what this lady went through. Even though she's a fictional character, I felt like she was a real person in Hollywood, and it kind of made me feel like maybe this is what some actors and things in Hollywood actually feel like, or what it might have actually been like for someone like Marilyn Monroe or someone like that back in the day, because it's that sort of time period, and how she worked her way up and everything that she did. So this was so well done, and I really enjoyed how it was written. So Monique is the main kind of character, apart from Evelyn Hugo, who is a journalist, and she is pretty much asked by Evelyn Hugo to write her biography, and so she does, and then so we get a bit of like talking between Evelyn and Monique between each of the like husbands' stories, and the rest of it's written kind of like her biography. So yeah, I don't know, it's just really well done, and the last 10 chapters had me bawling like a baby. So yeah, be prepared, you need tissues by the end. Alright, so the 7th book that I read was The Guardian by Katie Klein. This one was also on my Kindle, so I read this at work while I started reading my 8th book. Wow, we did good this month. And this was a very fast read. It was pretty short and very jumpy. That's probably the word to put it. The pacing was terrible. Unfortunately, this is probably my lowest ranked book of the month. I gave it a 1.5 stars. I won't be completing the trilogy. I've DNF'd after this. That's it. Unfortunately, there's like, I wanted it to be good. It had a good premise. The fact that it's about like guardians, they're not guardian angels, but they're guardians that are there to protect the humans, right? So each person is assigned their own guardian. It's kind of in another dimension, but then they come through to your dimension to protect you, sort of thing, but they're like invisible. And obviously one of them is seen by the person he's protecting, and that's that whole story. Unfortunately, I didn't love any of the love interests in this book. There's 3, the one at the beginning, and then there's like a kind of a bad guy, and then there's the guardian guy. Unfortunately, yeah, I just didn't really connect with any of them. I didn't really like the main character. Thought she was a bit silly. I didn't really understand her relationship that much with her mum. It started off like her mum was like real loving, and then she wasn't. And I didn't really feel anything when there was like the twist, but it wasn't really a twist because you kind of saw it coming with the bad guy. And yeah, I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy it. I contemplated to stop reading it like halfway through, but I kept going because it was just quick to read, and I wanted to see if it got any better, but unfortunately it didn't. It just really bothered me every time it jumped from, you'd read a part and she's gone to the beach, and then it ends, and then it's like 2 days later and she's at work, and I'm like, well, what happened when you got to the beach? Like, what was the point of going if we didn't see anything? So it felt really disconnected. Like, at one part I actually went back a couple of pages. I was like, hang on, did I skip something? I felt like I'd actually skipped either a chapter or a paragraph or something. It just was really weird. So yeah, unfortunately that's the worst one of the month, and I definitely wouldn't recommend it. Alright, and last for January is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. It was supposed to be Six of Crows, but I switched it out because I really wanted to read this book before the next book comes out in February. So yeah, I have already read this back when it first came out in 2020, but I decided to reread it. Obviously, I just want to have it fresh in my mind going into the second book. And I loved it the first time that I read it. I would have probably given it 5 stars the first time. I'm definitely going to be giving it 5 stars this time around because it feels like it's even better the second time. I don't know why. I just feel like the whole beginning part I didn't really get the first time. Like the setting and things I didn't get as much. I think because it's supposed to be like a fantasy, but it's a very contemporary fantasy, so it's set kind of very modern. And understanding that going into it, I enjoyed it a lot more. It's obviously heartbreaking, and I still haven't finished it. These are my tabs so far. I'm about 2/3 of the way through, so I am planning on finishing this going into February before reading the rest of my TBR. But yeah, hopefully I'll get it finished this week. It is so good. I absolutely love Bryce. She's such an amazing character, so well written. I just love Sarah J Maas's work. So good. I think I love all of her books. I loved the Throne of Glass series. I loved the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I absolutely love this, but I actually think this is probably my favourite. I just absolutely love Bryce. She's so badass. I just love her attitude and everything. She's so cool, and I love the like friendship between her and Danica. It's just amazing, and I absolutely love Hunt, and I really hope that Sarah J Maas doesn't do us dirty in the next book and, you know, makes Bryce fall in love with someone else, because come on, Hunt has to be endgame. He is amazing, and I will be so gutted if he's not. That's just my opinion. I also love Roan in this book. He is really cool too. I absolutely love all the characters. They're just really well done, and I love the setting, and I love all the different mythical characters. Yeah, it's just really cool. Such a good book. I highly recommend it. Alright, so that is it for my January wrap up. I'm really happy with my books that I read in January. Obviously I read an extra couple that weren't on my TBR, and then I did switch out my 450 plus page book from Six of Crows to House of Earth and Blood, but I am reading Six of Crows in my February TBR, so it's gonna happen. But yes, I'm actually really happy. I read 7.5 or nearly 8 books in January, which is quite a lot for me. I was thinking I'd only probably get 4. I think I'll only be able to do the 6 in February because I think I managed to get an extra couple in with January being a bit of a holiday month at the beginning with like New Year's and things. I was able to get a couple of extra books in possibly that way, but we'll see. Honestly, people who read like 20 books a month, I don't know how you do it. Maybe it's like, maybe you don't work full-time, I don't know, but or you're just really fast readers, because I literally don't think there's any chance I would be able to read more than this in a month at all. Obviously, yes, I do work full-time. I also try to work out every day, so yes, it is hard to fit in all the reading. I also have to make these videos and edit them, and I like playing games and watching TV programs and things as well, so fitting everything in is a lot. Also, I have a husband, you know, I've got to spend some time with him. But yes, I'm really happy with how I went in January, and obviously my favourite book for the month was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I mean, I would put in House of Earth and Blood as my favourite, but since it's a reread, I'm not including it. I'm going to have this as my book of the month, so yeah, this will go in for the winners category, because at the end of the year, my journal here, at the end of the year I will be tallying up all of the books and rating them against each other, all my favourites for the month, and then coming up with a final winner. So here is January, so I'll put The 7 Husbands in that one, and that'll go against my February book, and we'll see who the winner of that one is, and then February and March will also go against each other to find the winner of that. And then yeah, it just goes down until we get one final winner for my book of the year. So yes, so that is it. Obviously I did have a couple of dud books, so hopefully next month is a little bit better. The books that I have chosen seem pretty good, so fingers crossed. If you have read any of these books that I read in January, please post down below and let me know your thoughts on those, if you had kind of similar ratings or if they were quite different. Yeah, really interested to find out. But otherwise, as always, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more from me in the future. Obviously, if you are watching this video, you should have already hit that, hopefully. But yeah, thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all in my next one. Bye!